Welcome to the Sports Angle on PRConnectionsRadio.com, the voice of new media. I'm your host, Ian Rakelli. We have a fantastic episode planned out for you, episode 40 of the Sports Angle on PR Connections Radio. The NFL season, it's been crazy to watch. We have had a lot of fantastic teams. We've had some misses, we've had some hits. But, when it comes to the NFL season, 17 weeks in to the 2022 year. And of course, I always try to bring on people who are knowledgeable, people who know the world of sports. And, there's only two Packers fans I know who are actually knowledgeable and actually know what they're talking about. I brought on Joshua Bailey from Stay Tuned Live on last week's episode. So this week, I had to bring on Rashad from It's Bro Time.
Yes.
First time on the show. Hey, how's it going, my friend?
Man, it's good, man. I'm excited to be on your platform. I appreciate you inviting me on your platform, and I'm ready to talk this sports and see how it goes, man. See how the weekend transpires.
Yeah, absolutely. No doubt. And, when it comes to the world of sports, and especially with football, you don't just have the NFL. We have college football, which we'll talk about later in the show. Your
Yes,
shirt
sir.
probably gave away what we're going to talk about in the second hour. But, we'll do the NFL for now. NFL Week 17 picks. And, the Arizona Cardinals taking on the Atlanta Falcons. This one's a little bit of a dud to kick it off. But, hey, you got to start slow, and then you got to build up from there. So Arizona Cardinals, Kyler Murray will not be the starting quarterback. He will be out for this game. Atlanta Falcons, Desmond Ridder, I think 4 starts into his young NFL career. Now, according to FanDuel, the Atlanta Falcons, 6-point favorite in this matchup. So Rashad and everyone watching around the world, who do you have here? You're going to go with the Cardinals or you're going to go with the Falcons?
I'm going with the Falcons. I just think they're better equipped late in the year. They've been playing hard. Falcons, the Arizona Cardinals showed some fight with McSorley at quarterback. And they showed a lot of heart, especially I think that was against was that the Cowboys they played? Was that?
So I know the Cardinals, they took on the Patriots, and then I know they took on the Lions. I remember they took on them. So
I want to know who they played last week. I want to who was that they played last week?
Denver Broncos then?
What was it, the Broncos? No.
Yeah, I know they've taken on some really mediocre teams. That's the only thing I remember.
Yeah, but they lost the game that was on Thursday Night Football. I wanted to say no. That was I know who it was. That was Tampa Bay. That was a Sunday night game. This past Sunday night, and they lost that game, and they showed a lot of fight. It went into overtime, and it could have went either way. And Trace McSorley, he brought him back. He brought him back to tie the game, and they were actually leading in that game actually, and they end up tying the game or whatnot. Went into overtime. Defense collapsed. Unfortunately, offense sputtered, and Tampa Bay and Tom Brady and company won the game by a field goal. So they showed a lot of fight, but I'm still taking the Falcons to win this game.
I'm going to take the Atlanta Falcons here as well. I'll take the -6.
Right.
This could easily be a touchdown game. I mean, not many people are expecting much from this game. Granted, probably there's going to be 5 people watching this game. So you have the Atlanta Falcons. I haven't beaten the Arizona Cardinals, and really, the only person that's going to care about this is the draft positioning, where they're going to be in the draft.
Right.
Now, a game that really only I'm going to care about as a Chicago Bears fan, you have the Chicago Bears, the 2nd overall pick. They could potentially get the number 1 pick if they lose their last 2 games. Taking on Detroit Lions, a team that is fighting for their lives and trying to get into the playoffs. So according to FanDuel, Detroit Lions are a 6-point favorite in this matchup. So, Rashad, I know that you're a Packers fan, unfortunately. Right. So you have the Chicago Bears, Detroit Lions, 2 members of the NFC North. Who do you have here and why?
Honestly, I like how the Bears have been playing as of late, especially Justin Fields, running the football. That's been their MO as of late, and he's just such a dynamic player, such a dynamic runner. Still, he's still struggling from the pocket. Bears don't have much around him. So they're still, I expect them to use that top pick try to build that offensive line and help Fields out, give him some tools up front, so he can be able to, you know, show that arm off because he's very talented. But Detroit is playing with their hair on fire, man, and that's the game. As a Packer fan, I know we have the Vikings in Detroit the last two games. The game I'm truly worried about is not Minnesota. I'm worried about the Lions because Detroit that's a game that is gonna be I mean, you talk about a brawl, like a bar fight. That's what Detroit brings to the game now. And I'm happy to see it. I'm happy to see it. They've been in the dumps for quite some time. So I'm happy to see Detroit back to doing their thing. So I'm gonna take Detroit in this one.
So, as a Chicago Bears fan, I should definitely go out and say, you know what, we're going to get the number one overall pick. But,
Right.
I don't believe in tanking. Like, even like as a Bears fan, I don't believe in tanking and purposely losing.
Right. I don't either.
Obviously you're a Packers fan. You really wouldn't know what tanking is.
Right.
So when it comes to Detroit Lions, however, I said this back in August and I got some heat for it. I thought the Detroit Lions would be the 7th and final seed in the NFC. I really believe Detroit was going to be a playoff team.
Right. That's how I felt. I felt the same way.
And I still believe that Detroit Lions are a playoff team.
Right.
So give me the Detroit Lions. Give me the -6 here. I think Detroit has a lot of potential. And if they're not a playoff team this year, I definitely think they'll be a playoff team next year.
Yeah. And they honestly, if they're not a playoff team this year, they might mess around and win the division next year. Like that's how good I think they're gonna be. And
we'll see. Hey, crazier things have happened.
Right. And that's just the trajectory they're going on. It's trending up for sure.
Yeah. Now, the Washington Commanders, they're in playoff contention. I get it. Cleveland Browns got eliminated because they could not beat Andy Dalton last week. So the Cleveland Browns, Washington Commanders, 1.5 point spread here, according to FanDuel. I mean, how do I put this nicely? Does anybody outside of the NFC East even care about this game?
Me. I'm a Packer fan. I need the Commanders to lose out, which I think they will. I think the only team outside of Dallas and the Eagles from that division that will make the playoffs is the New York Giants. I think the Giants went out. I think the Commanders lose out. And I've thought that the last almost 3-4 weeks now. So they're not a good football team. I'm sorry. And I'm taking the Browns with probably the upset. I'm taking the Browns to win this game. And so I'm sure everybody in Green Bay will be cheering and in Detroit as well. Everybody in Detroit also will be cheering for the Washington Commanders to lose.
And because the Green Bay Packers would have to have the Washington Commanders lose, that's why I'm picking the Washington Commanders. I have them winning by a field goal here.
Okay.
To give me the Commanders by a field goal to beat the Cleveland Browns. You're going to establish this theme later on in the show. But yes, Washington Commanders, that would be great to see the Green Bay Packers lose. So give me the Washington Commanders by a field goal.
Right.
Now, this AFC West matchup, if you would have told me in week 1 that it would be this lopsided, I wouldn't have believed you. I wouldn't have believed that the Denver Broncos would be a 12.5 point underdog against Kansas City Chiefs in week 17, but yet we are here. So the Chiefs being 12.5, what do you have here?
The Chiefs should be a 20+ point favorite because Denver's not winning this game. I got the Chiefs by 3 touchdowns possibly. So yeah, Chiefs will cover and then some.
I can't say Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes. They're trying to get their first round bye. That's really all they care about this point is getting that first round bye. So give me the Kansas City Chiefs minus 12.5. And unfortunately, I have to get to this game next. This is a game that I don't want to talk about. I wish I could just skip it and move on. But since it is your team,
right?
Minnesota Vikings, Green Bay Packers, divisional matchup. Packers are a field goal favorite according to FanDuel. Now, what do you got?
Honestly, this is the game I feel confident in. I've said this since week 1. When we lost to them, I was in Minnesota. I was at the game. When we lost to them in Minnesota, I said, if Christian Watson catches that deep ball on the first series of all of the offense, on the first offensive series of Green Bay, that's a totally different game. Totally different game. And today, I told Minnesota fans we would see them January 1st. And sure enough, we will see them January 1st in Green Bay. And I think we beat them by a touchdown.
And the Minnesota Vikings, even though I think they're frauds and they should lose in the first round of the NFL playoffs, I think it would be bittersweet that the Green Bay Packers would be sent home by a
Right.
team that is a fraud in itself.
Right.
So give me the Minnesota Vikings. Give me the +3 here. And I expect Justin Jefferson to send the Green Bay Packers fans very disappointed, but they would send them home, sitting on the couch in January. So next matchup, Jacksonville Jaguars, Houston Texans. Jaguars are 3-point favorite in this matchup. When it comes to the Jacksonville Jaguars, they have everything to lose here. I mean, Tennessee Titans, they got embarrassed by the Dallas Cowboys on Thursday Night Football. Houston Texans, really all they have to play for is job security. There's a bunch of players who are going to be free agents. A head coach, Lovie Smith, he might be returning next year, might not. We don't know. So with the Jacksonville Jaguars, Houston Texans matchup, who do you got here?
I got the Jags. I think the Jags win the division. They're in prime position to win the division, and I'm excited for Jacksonville, man. Duval country. It's going to be exciting to see Trevor Lawrence and company in the playoffs. So I got the Jags winning this game.
You know what? Jacksonville Jaguars, Trevor Lawrence and everything. I said back in August, and I was probably the only, two people. I think there was only two people. We did a show on Stay Tuned Live.
Right.
And we did all the divisions and everything. And I said the Jacksonville Jaguars were going to win the AFC South. I didn't believe in the Colts, didn't believe in the Titans. So even though the Jacksonville Jaguars have looked better than I thought they would be, give me the Jacksonville Jaguars, beat the Houston Texans, and they will force a division battle against the Tennessee Titans in Week 18. Hey, Raiders fans, Las Vegas, the sports entertainment capital of the world. I know what's going on here. Derek Carr, Devontae Adams, the whole situation. They're having to start Jared Stidham as the quarterback, 9.5. But, San Francisco 49ers, they have been the hottest team in football. I mean, on an 8-game winning streak, they've won 10 of their last 12. So who do you have here? You're going to go with San Francisco or are you going to go with Las Vegas?
I'm going with Frisco. I had posted not too long ago on social media that the Raiders, they have one of the most transcendent, iconic brands in NFL history. But over the last 30 years, they have one of the most dysfunctional franchises over the last 30 years. So give me the 49ers and give me the points and then some. I think they beat the Raiders, and I think it's going to be probably a 70% 49er crowd too.
Yeah, Allegiant Stadium will definitely be rocking, especially with the Bay Area matchup here in Vegas. But yeah, no, 49ers are going to win this game. I mean, it doesn't matter if it was 9.5, 17.5. Doesn't matter what the spread is. The 49ers, they're going to get the job done against the Las Vegas Raiders. So yeah, give me 49ers minus 9.5 here. Really should not be a competitive matchup.
Right.
Now, an LA matchup that does not matter at all. Give me the Rams and the Chargers. Chargers 6.5-point favorite in this matchup. So based off of you got the LA Dodgers cap and everything right there. USC Trojans on the shirt. So who do you have here? The Rams or Chargers?
I got the Chargers. They've already clinched a playoff spot. They're just looking to build on that. Rams are not a good football team this year. Give me the Chargers.
And give me the Los Angeles Rams plus 6.5. What we've seen since Baker Mayfield has taken over the offense, he has shown more confidence. He actually has been able to show some more weapons with the Los Angeles Rams. I've also said for the longest time that the Chargers, unfortunately, when it gets to the month of December, they are not dominant.
Right.
The Chargers are a team that they just kind of squeak their way in to the month of January. They're not dominant. So give me the Rams. Give me plus 6.5 here. And we have about 4 matchups left with week 17. So you have a NFC South battle with the Carolina Panthers, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Right now, it's a 4-point spread with Tampa Bay. And it's insane that the Carolina Panthers, who started 1-5, are only 1 game back from a division lead. So, the winner of this matchup, they become the NFC South division leader. Who do you think that's going to be, Rashad? Is it Carolina or is it Tampa Bay?
I think Carolina wins that game. Carolina is playing with playing with their hair on fire as well. That's another, franchise since they fired Matt Rule and company. They've just been playing lights out. They've been playing very tough football, and especially in the run game. They put over 300 yards rushing against Detroit last week. That is crazy. So give me Carolina. I think they beat Tampa. Tampa's not a good football team this year. They're just in a bad division, and they are bad in that division as well. Give me Carolina beating Tampa, and Tampa might win the game the following week. But I got the Panthers this weekend.
You know what? It's not a great team. They're not even a good team, but thankfully they're not a bad team. Tampa Bay Buccaneers are unfortunately going to win this game. Tampa Bay will clinch the division with this situation, but you know what? They really don't deserve to be in the playoffs. They shouldn't be a playoff team. And it's going to be a situation where a certain division had to win. I really compare this to the NBA. There was times where there was a division winner in the NBA that would be a higher seed in the standings than a team that actually was better.
Right.
So unfortunately, I kind of wish the NFL would get rid of it. In fact, I've been a huge advocate for getting rid of, if you win your division, you get in to the NFL. I think that's a ridiculous rule. I actually believe that it should not be in the NFL anymore because we've seen, when the NFC East was terrible, you only had to win eight games to get in the playoffs. We saw the AFC South a few years ago. A team only had to win 8 games to barely get in it. So, you know what? Tampa Bay, they're going to win this game, but it's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be good. We have the New Orleans Saints, Philadelphia Eagles. I mean, the Eagles are a 5.5-point favorite in this matchup. Really, the only thing the Eagles are playing for is momentum because they're trying to get into the playoffs. They're trying to establish themselves there, especially with that loss coming off of Dallas last week. So, New Orleans or Philadelphia, who do you got there?
New Orleans or Philly? I got Philly. I think Philly wins this game. Not going away, but I have Philly winning this game.
You know what? I will say this about Philadelphia. They're going to be a solid team out there, with them being a 5.5-point favorite. So, yeah, give me the Philadelphia Eagles. They're just trying to be a good playoff team, even though I don't see them being a Super Bowl. I don't see them in my Super Bowl. I have San Francisco personally, but I understand what they're trying to do there.
Yeah, I got San Fran winning the conference as well. It doesn't matter what the Eagles do. They probably will have home field advantage, but I still think I got San Fran winning the conference anyway. But I mean, to piggyback on your take, I mean, there's been some divisional champions. They end up making a run in the playoffs, man. So with horrible records, and we know once you get in, it's a totally different season now. It's a new season.
I mean,
So
you got
what
the best teams going at it.
exactly, and whatever you did in the regular season does not matter. That's just how the playoffs are. So and it doesn't and it depends on who gets hot at the right time. A lot of the times, the best team don't always win.
I mean, to give you an example, it'd be like the Los Angeles Dodgers in the 2022 MLB postseason. I mean,
Exactly.
they were the best team all year, and they came up just a bit short.
Exactly. And I can piggyback on that with another one of my favorite teams as well that I'm a fan of is Green Bay. They had the #1 seed in the playoffs last year, and the Niners came in there and they beat Green Bay. Green Bay
They
had
did, yeah.
to win that game. They were the better team at the time. They were the better team. But, the 49ers, it was their day, and they did what they had to do. So, again, whoever gets in, and I'm not betting against Brady, come playoff time, If these quarterbacks get in, it's a new season. They have new life. So we'll see.
I mean, it's like that. It's like that pyramid, right? You know, Green Bay beats Dallas, San Francisco beats Green Bay.
Right.
I mean, that's pretty much the way it is. But
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to Green Bay, LA, all the stuff that happens there, I just look at it and go, you know what? When it comes to divisions, I just think it should be the 7 best teams in the NFL on the AFC side, 7 best teams on the NFC side. They should compete. Like, I think it should be like the NBA, where the 8 best teams compete, or sorry, 10 because of play-in. The best 10, that's the playoffs. But you know
Right.
what? I could be wrong, but that's just what my opinion is on that.
Right.
Now, we have like 3 games left when it comes to the NFL Week 17 picks. You have Miami, you have New England, and, you have 2.5 on FanDuel for the New England Patriots. Dolphins not having Tua, the concussion protocol and everything that's going on there. So you have New England, Miami. Who you got?
Give me Miami. New England just find ways to just screw games off. They should have beat the Bengals last week, and they just couldn't get it done. So give me Miami, and give me the points. And I think Teddy Bridgewater gets it done against the Patriots.
You know what? Give me the Patriots minus 2.5. As much as I like Miami and as much as I want Miami to succeed, unfortunately, when you don't have Tua, we've seen what Miami looks like without him, and it really has been a huge difference in the offense in terms of when he's there and when he's not there. So give me New England. Give me minus 2.5. I expect that situation there. And, Indianapolis Colts, New York Giants. Giants being a 5.5-point favorite here against Indianapolis. The Colts really don't have much to play for. The Giants have a lot to play for, and
Right.
that is a playoff spot. So who do you have here, Indianapolis, or do you have New York?
Oh, I got New York running away, and the Colts are a horrible football team. So give me the Giants.
You know what? I'll say this: when it comes to the Giants, they could be a playoff team, but I don't expect them to beat San Francisco in the first round. Like, I've seen what the matchups are supposed to be,
Right.
and no, San Francisco would take that game.
Right. Right. Well, I mean, it just depends. It just depends because I just have a feeling, and this is just my opinion. I don't care who gets the 7th seed, whether it's Green Bay, whether it's Detroit, it doesn't matter. Whoever gets that 7th seed they will beat whoever is that 2 seed. That's just how I feel about it.
So shout out to the Minnesota Vikings because they're going to be the team that loses out.
Yeah. I think the 7th seed will win that game.
And speaking of the whole 7 seed situation, you have the New York Jets, who are still competing for that 7th spot in the AFC. Then you have Seattle, who's competing for that 7th spot in the NFC. Right now, the Jets are a minus 1.5-point favorite. So who you got here? You're going to go with the Jets or the Seahawks? One of them's going to stay in the fight. The other
Right.
one's going to go home.
Jets Seahawks, I'm is that quarterback playing? What is his name? Not not
Zach Wilson or
not
Mike White?
not Wilson. Is White playing?
I don't believe so. I think Zach Wilson could be the one playing.
Okay, then give me the Seahawks. Give me the Seahawks.
You know what? I'm going to go with this on the Seattle Seahawks, not just because I have family out there in Seattle, but mainly because I see the fact that Seattle, they've done a lot better than anybody expected. There was people like the Sports Angle on PR Connections Radio who thought they'd have the number 1 pick in next year's draft because most people expected them to be terrible this year. Well,
Right.
they've been a lot better than expected.
Right.
Okay. So we had the Pittsburgh Steelers, Baltimore Ravens. There was the announcement that Tyler Huntley will be the starting quarterback. Lamar Jackson will be out again out there in Baltimore. Pittsburgh Steelers, Mike Tomlin, he's trying to keep his above 500 record alive. So who do you have here? You're going to go with Mike Tomlin in his streak, or are you going to go with Tyler Huntley, Utah Utes legend at quarterback?
I'm gonna go, and I like Huntley a lot. I'm gonna go with Tomlin though. I think they are cooking something up in Pittsburgh, and I like the rookie Kenny Pickett. I like him a lot. He's growing up before our eyes. Big game. He won against the Raiders. So I'm gonna take the Steelers.
You know what? I'm going to take Pittsburgh Steelers as well. Mike Tomlin, one of the most disrespected coaches in the NFL. He really is a top 3 coach in the NFL, but if you ask some Steelers fans, they think he should have been fired 5 years ago. So it just, to me, it really upsets me the fact that Mike Tomlin is one of the best coaches in the NFL, but he just doesn't get his respect.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree.
And the last matchup, we had the Buffalo Bills, Cincinnati Bengals, Monday Night Football. Josh Allen, Joe Burrow. Right now, Cincinnati Bengals are a 1.5 point underdog. Buffalo Bills, 1.5 point favorite. So, really, all this game matters is that Cincinnati could be the 2 seed. Buffalo, if they win, could be the 1 seed. So, it just really depends on the seeding in the AFC. Who do you have, Buffalo or Cincinnati?
I'm going to go Buffalo because Buffalo, I think, is the only team in that conference that really needs home field advantage to get to the Super Bowl. I think Cincinnati, they've proven they can go on the road and get it done no matter what. I think Kansas City can do that too as well. But I think Buffalo is the team that they desperately need home field advantage to get to the Super Bowl. So I'm gonna take the Bills and Josh Allen to get it done in a hard fought game, a close one. I could see this going down to the wire and a field goal wins this game. So I'm taking the Bills.
And I'm going to go with the Cincinnati Bengals here. Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase. I mean, this is a Cincinnati Bengals team that's been building momentum.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people seem to forget how they built momentum last year, and that was by winning 6 of their last 7 games heading into the playoffs. Feels very similar to what they did last year.
Right.
So give me Cincinnati, give me the Bengals plus 1.5 here in this matchup. And I just want to remind everybody that we're actually doing a marathon show on prconnectionsradio.com on New Year's Day. And with the Sports Angle doing a show on that, that's actually why it's going to be a shortened show here on Friday. I just remembered because I had Guy Dawson, the whole situation. So, with the PR Connections Radio Monday, New Year's Day, we're going to be doing a show there. So we're going to be doing a show here on Friday as well. So, when it comes to prconnectionsradio.com, the voice of new media, definitely watch all their content as well, but also watch the Sports Angle. Just had to give that disclaimer out there, a little update on that. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to our week 17 picks in the NFL, that was what all of those were. We'll definitely be criticized and mocked when we get some wrong, we'll get some right. It happens.
Yeah.
But when it comes to your Green Bay Packers, and it's no secret I'm a Bears fan.
Right.
It's no secret that you guys have tormented me and pretty much have tortured me for 15 years.
Right.
But when it comes to the Chicago Bears, the one thing that I will say is a positive is that the future is bright in Chicago.
Yes.
Out there in Green Bay, you have some uncertain waters. Mm-hmm. Aaron Rodgers, his ego is really taking a hit to the Green Bay Packers. It's that negatively affected the Green Bay Packers. Whereas the Chicago Bears, the future is bright. Justin Fields, one of the best young up-and-coming quarterbacks in the NFL. We have over $100 million in cap space we can use for next year and a number 2 overall pick.
Right.
So, you know what? The Green Bay Packers, I'm still going to wish you go 0-17 at least once in my lifetime. You go 0-17. That's my goal. But when it comes to Chicago Bears, we have a bright future. So I'll say that.
Right.
Now, do you want the Green Bay Packers to make it into the playoffs? Actually, do you really want them to get to that 7th seed, win both games, win out?
Yeah, I do. Because, like I said, once you get in the playoffs, it's a new season. And we've seen it time and time again. Those teams is fighting and clawing and fighting and clawing. And once they get in, they're playing with house money. So it's like, it's because they weren't expected to get in anyway. So anytime you got a team that's led by future Hall of Famer quarterback and Aaron Rodgers, one of the best to ever do it, you have a shot. You truly do have a shot. Now he's and I've been critical of Aaron Rodgers his entire career because he's come up short time after time after time come playoff time. But I think if he gets in, he's playing with house money. And a lot of teams, believe it or not, they don't want the Packers to get in the playoffs. I don't, people can sit here and say, Green Bay's not good, and we're not a good football team. I tell you that now. We're not a good football team.
Oh, yeah, of course.
but the last three games they've been building momentum. So if they mess around, beat the Vikings this week, turn around and beat Detroit the next week, okay, now you're looking at a 6-game win streak, damn near 6-game win streak. So you're looking at it like, okay, this team is getting hot at the right time. I'm not saying they're going to go in here and blow the doors off in the playoffs, but
Yeah.
they will beat somebody they're not supposed to beat in the playoffs because they have that man number 12 at quarterback.
All right, so you beat Minnesota in the first round, and you lose to San Francisco in the second round. I'm
Right,
okay with that. I'm
right,
okay with you guys losing to
right,
the 49ers in the divisional
right,
round.
right, right. And I think that's probably more than likely that will happen. But like I said, it's, when you get in the playoffs, it's a new season. And it doesn't matter what you've done in the regular season. 13 wins, 14 wins, great season, divisional champs. That's cute. Different ball game come playoff time.
Yeah, absolutely. No doubt. No doubt. And, I just want to very quickly talk real quick about your USC Trojans real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'll say this about USC. I'm a University of Utah fan. I was
Right.
at the Pac-12 championship game at
I was
Allegiant
too.
Stadium.
I was too.
Yeah, we should have actually linked up at some
Oh,
point.
oh yeah. We will
But
now.
when it came to that game, it was fantastic, man. It was
Yeah.
fantastic seeing the Utah Utes absolutely destroy the USC Trojans at Allegiant
Mm-hmm.
Stadium. It was fantastic.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now Tulane, they're taking on USC.
Right.
That's going to be a great game. I have Tulane winning that game. I personally think they actually are a better team overall than USC. I have a feeling you have a little bit of a different opinion on that.
Oh well, you got the Heisman Trophy winner in Caleb Williams. He did get hurt in that Utah game, which changed the entire offense of that game.
Yeah.
So hopefully he's healthy. We'll see. I don't know, but again, another team like Tulane, they're playing with house money because USC is favored. They're USC they're expected to blow the doors off of Tulane. So if they come in there with that mentality, they will lose that game for sure. But I think SC finished the season. They cap off the season on the right foot. They win the Cotton Bowl and they beat Tulane by 2 scores.
You know what? It'll be interesting to see what happens with the Tulane, the USC situation. Utah, Penn State, that's going to be a good game as well.
Mm-hmm.
All the bowl games and everything. And, like I said, like earlier in the show, this is going to be a shortened episode of the Sports Angle on PR Connections Radio because we're doing the marathon show on Sunday. So that's going to be a fantastic thing on Sunday to do.
Sure.
Now, I will say, Rashad, it's Bro Time. That's a show that you do. Tell everybody watching around the world, where they can find it and what's the show about.
Well, it's Bro Time is a sports show. We've been kind of on the downside. We've kind of been quiet this pretty much the second half of the year. It's been kind of tough. My co-host, she's a new mother, so she's taking care of that. Work has got the best of myself included. So it's just we're trying to figure out what we're gonna do, the schedule for the new year. We do want to bring the show back and get the show going because we had a lot of great buzz from it. And I'm just ready to get back talking sports. We cover everything, all sports. We cover outside drama within the world of sports, but we just basically we're just basically geared towards sports. And it's, you can hear Abby, my co-host, you can hear that female angle from the sports angle. And then you can also hear myself, so it's a great show, man. I tell everybody to tune in, go to It's Bro Time. You can go to our Facebook, our Instagram page, It's Bro Time, and just check us out, show us some love. And like I said, we will be back soon. We're just trying to figure some things out. Like I said, we're not getting paid doing this. We doing it because we love it. We love sports, and that
There you go.
we're doing love of the game. So our outside lives have gotten the best of us as of late. So we're trying to get things back in order.
Yeah, absolutely. No doubt. And, I just wanted to very quickly promote, It's Bro Time because I know that's the show that you do, Abby and everything.
Oh, yeah.
And also Stay Tuned Live.
Yes,
as well.
stay tuned.
Stay tuned. Joshua Bailey.
Yeah, stay tuned. Check us out on Stay Tuned Live. I'm on that show as well every Tuesday. We got a great cast as well on that show. Guys that are funny and they're very knowledgeable as well in the world of sports and just in the world of pop culture and just popular culture in general. So, yeah, check us out, man. Shout us out. Go to Stay Tuned Live, Facebook page, Instagram page. We're everywhere, and just chime in, show it, give
Yeah.
us your thoughts and share us, like us, and support us.
Absolutely, no doubt. And I also will say Joshua Bailey, Dennis Holmes, Sharon Mullen. I mean, all the people who are on that network. I mean, Inner Thinkers podcast as well. So, there's a bunch of incredible people, very knowledgeable people and everything.
Oh,
So I just wanted to very quickly talk about that for a minute.
mm-hmm.
But I have some questions for you.
What's up?
Now, with you being Green Bay Packers fan, like we've established already,
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers, Jordan Love, the quarterback situation.
Right.
Now, I have an idea, and I've said this on multiple shows. I've even said on a previous episode of the Sports Angle on prconnectionsradio.com, the voice of new media, that I think that it's the best interest for the Green Bay Packers that this upcoming offseason, you trade Aaron Rodgers. That if the Green Bay Packers really want to move on and become better as an organization, you drafted Jordan Love. He was your first round pick. He has shown flashes at times of what he can do, but I believe they really need to establish confidence and really establish what Jordan Love can do. So I say you trade Aaron Rodgers. I say the Jets, but it could be anywhere. You trade Aaron Rodgers, you go someplace else, and you officially move on, and you get into the Jordan Love era.
And I will agree with you cold heartedly. I truly wanted Rodgers traded 2 years ago. To be honest with you, after the Tampa Bay lapse, they brought him back again to try to see what happened. Try to run it back again. He gets to the playoffs, he does the same thing again.
Yeah.
So, but at the same time, they brought him back, gave him a new contract. Don't understand why, but they did that. And now next year though, he is guaranteed, I think 40 some plus million. Still left on that deal. That's his last year of that of the guaranteed deal. So I would trade him. Raiders is looking kind of interesting. I don't know if he would want to go there. I know his boys over there, Devontae, a few other places. I would look into New York, the Jets. They definitely need a quarterback, a veteran presence. So right now though, he's on the hook for one more year. I want him to, look. I hope Brian Gutekunst trades him this offseason and just sit him down and just have this talk with him. Look, man, you can either retire or you can get traded because we're moving on with Jordan Love. I believe Jordan Love is ready. I believe he's been ready to take the reins. He doesn't have to be Aaron Rodgers. I do not want him to be Aaron Rodgers. I want him to be Jordan Love. All right. So, and if that's having an up and down regular season, getting us to the playoffs possibly and shining in the brightest moments, which you should do anyway as a quarterback, I'm all for that. Then having this Hall of Fame regular season career in a sense, year in and year out, which Rodgers has done his whole entire career. I think he's arguably the greatest regular season quarterback of all time. But to me, that's where it stops. Because come playoff time, he falls short, he shrinks. So again, I wanted the Packers to move off of him 2 years ago. I hope they move off of him after this year. I highly doubt it. I think they bring him back for one more year and tell Jordan, we will pick up your 5th-year option. Once he's gone, this is yours. So we'll see. I don't know.
So here's the problem with bringing back Aaron Rodgers.
Right.
And this is from a Bears fan perspective. Just keep in mind, I'm a bitter Bears fan. I openly admit it.
Right.
Aaron Rodgers, what's really left for him in Green Bay?
Right.
Like, what is really left for him to do besides losing more NFC Championship games?
Right, exactly.
I really don't know what's left. Whereas Jordan Love, he has a brand new thing he can bring in.
Right.
People also keep on mentioning that Jordan Love has spent 3 years on the bench. Conveniently, Aaron Rodgers spent 3 years on the bench.
Right.
So if you're the Green Bay Packers, he has been seasoned well enough. I kind of compare it to Joe Montana, Steve Young situation where, Steve Young, he was a backup for a couple of years. And then Joe Montana, you know what? Hey, you're done. We're going to send you to Kansas City. You're done. You've had a good tenure. We're going to move on to the new guy now.
Right.
And I feel like Brett Favre was the same way, even though that debacle was absolutely hilarious as a Bears fan. Seeing him, I'm going to leave. Wait, no, I want to come back. Wait, no, I want to leave. It was hilarious.
Right.
So I say Jordan Love is the man. He should be the guy that comes in and does it. Outside of the Aaron Rodgers situation, is there any other holes or any other areas that the Packers really need to address this upcoming offseason?
I think the left tackle position, I think Bakhtiari needs to go. He hasn't been healthy for the last 2 years. He's been up and down. I said it when he injured that knee, and I said it last year when he only played one game. I said that knee is not right, and it won't be right for the rest of his career. And I think they should get off of him. And I think they will. I think they will cut bait with him because we save $11 million in cap space if we cut him. So I think they will cut him as well. Also, I like Zach Tom, the rookie we have at left tackle. He's filled in since David Bakhtiari has been on the bench and has been unavailable. Zach Tom has showed he can man that position at left tackle. He doesn't have to be David Bakhtiari. David Bakhtiari is a three or four time All Pro. So you're talking about one of the best left tackles in the last 5-10 years. You know what I'm saying? So
right.
Granted, but outside of that, I think we need to address the also always you address the defensive line and offensive line. That's always a must because that's where games are won and lost is in the trenches. So I will allocate more resources to the offensive line, more resources to the D line. And then outside of that, probably get another weapon. And my favorite receiver in the draft, I know we're not talking about the draft yet, but
we can do it. No problem. We can do it.
my favorite receiver in the draft is out of Tennessee, the speedster. I can't think.
Hyatt?
Yeah, Hyatt. Hyatt is my favorite receiver in the draft. He's my favorite player in the draft. And I hope the Packers covet him because I could see him and him and Watson and Dobbs in the same receiving core. Oh my God.
It's weird because my favorite receiver in the draft actually comes from your school, and because I got to see him live. That's Jordan Addison.
Oh, Addison. Yeah, Addison.
Yeah, I think Addison is actually going to be special in the NFL.
Yeah.
But regardless of what team he goes to, could be Dallas, they need a receiver. Right. Regardless of the Bears, they need a receiver. So, Jordan Addison, I think, would be a really good receiver to take. Now, we all know the Packers don't take a receiver in the first round.
Right.
It's been well established. Javon Walker was the last time he took a receiver in the first round. And I've seen mock drafts saying that they're going to take Michael Mayer, the tight end from Notre Dame. Like he would be the guy the Packers take.
I could see that too because we finally need a deep threat at tight end. That changes things too. If you get the kid from Notre Dame or the tight end from Utah, that's who's my favorite tight end. I want him bad.
Oh yeah, Kincaid.
Kincaid is no joke. No joke. I've been on that bandwagon for over a year now. So
hey, as a University of Utah fan, hey, he's one of the best. One of the best tight ends in college football.
I think he is the best tight end in the country. So if the Packers could draft him or the kid from Notre Dame, I'll be elated as well. So any weapon, they just need to add another weapon on the perimeter for Love or Rodgers and company.
Yeah. Like Kincaid and Clark Phillips have been like the two youth players that everyone talking about early in the draft.
So. Yeah, because they're going to be very early picks, first 3 rounds come draft day, and I really hope Green Bay targets one of those players.
Yeah. And, when it comes to the Chicago Bears and we're talking about the draft, we might as well talk about it. There has been these discussions about Alabama being the first team since Penn State in 2000 to have the number 1 and number 2 pick come from the same school. Will Anderson, Bryce Young potentially being 1-2.
Right.
Like I said, last time that happened was, I think, Courtney Brown and LeVar Arrington back in 2000. So, do you think that's actually a realistic possibility that the Bears take Anderson at 2 and Young goes to Texans at 1?
I could see that because you guys do need to rebuild that defense. You guys do need an edge presence. You guys traded Quinn to the Eagles.
Mm-hmm.
Earlier in the year, you guys let a lot of people go. You let Mac walk. You let Hakeem Nicks
Roquan
walk.
Smith to
Yeah,
Baltimore. Yeah.
Raekwon Smith, Hakeem Nicks. So you guys are building that Bears defense again, and I could definitely see you guys getting that edge player from Alabama. So hopefully, if you guys go that route, I just hope you address the offensive line early and often in the draft.
Yeah. So now we're talking about the NFL here on the Sports Angle on PRConnectionsRadio.com, the voice of new media. I'm your host, Ian Kelly. We're here with Rashad from It's Bro Time. And as a Bears fan, and I'm actually being unbiased here, taking a step back, I actually think they should trade down in the
Oh,
draft.
okay.
Considering all the quarterback hungry teams,
Right.
unless Will Anderson is this undisputed, like you have to go get this guy, I think the Bears should trade down with the Lions or trade down
Yep.
with the Seahawks or maybe trade down with the Colts or the Commanders. Like, go to a team that needs a quarterback, get a lot of assets back in return, obviously, but, make a trade and go down the draft and maybe get Miles Murphy from Clemson, maybe Brian Breesy, maybe go back in the draft and get somebody who's a pass rusher, but later in the draft.
I agree with that. I think you guys, honestly, I think that's the best move you can make is trade down because you need to garner picks and you need more talent. You need to fill that roster and with a lot of talent, especially like again, you hear me say this a few times on this show already. Offensive line. The Bears need to build that offensive line. I think, and I told Josh this on Stay Tuned. I told him this as well a couple months ago. The Bears are about to transition into an offensive team now. They will not be a defensive team anymore. They will have a decent enough defense, but when you have a franchise quarterback like Justin Fields and a talent like Justin Fields, you need to start allocating major resources to that side of the ball to protect your franchise. So again, offensive line, receiver, running backs, they need to really key on those positions, especially up front.
So I will say, as I give you credit, I have a lot of respect for the fact that, yeah, and you make some excellent points. But as somebody who's been a Bears fan for 19 years, like Ryan Poles, he was a former offensive lineman for the Bears. He's a general manager now. So I can see where that's going. But if I'm the Bears organization, you've built your team through defense, for decades now. It doesn't matter when the championships were, when they went to Super Bowl in
Right.
2006, that was built off of the defense, which was built in the draft. Back in 85, when the Bears went and won the Super Bowl, that team was built off of defense, and they built all those guys through the draft.
Right.
The Bears, as much as people give them a lot of flack, and it's fair, the one thing they know how to do right is build their defense from the draft.
I agree.
So, when it comes to the Bears, people keep talking about offensive line. And look, I'll say this, my first ever mock draft, my 1.0, I did here on the Sports Angle. I had them taking Skronsky, the offensive lineman from Northwestern. I thought it made a lot of sense.
I like him a lot. Mm-hmm.
But the more that I was thinking about it and the more I analyzed the draft, I think the Bears could actually, with over $100 million in cap space, they could say, you know what? Jenkins from Green Bay, we'll sign him. He'll be on our offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
We'll take the guy from Buffalo. Hey, we'll have him be on our offensive line. I think if the Bears were smart, they would sign the 4 best offensive linemen in free agency and make that offensive line just from the free agency alone.
Right. And I could see that. They won't get Jenkins. Jenkins just signed a big deal with Green Bay. So
I was just using him as an example.
Right. So he'll be back. But yeah, I agree. They might go that route, but I mean, they could go a veteran route. I could totally see that. They have a lot of cash to spend. Also, they could get a veteran defense as well, though. So I could see them going both, different routes. But to me, I just go back to where you've never had a talent like Justin Fields at quarterback in your franchise.
Well, he
So
had a season at Cordell Stewart though. He had like
exactly,
one
but
season.
you never had a Justin Fields in Chicago. You just haven't. So I just go back to, with that being said, since you've never had that kind of talent, you need to build around that talent. And your general manager, being a former offensive lineman, he knows how important that position is for the quarterback to be successful in this league. So again, you trade down, you build your offensive line, and you protect your franchise and move forward that way. And then in free agency, you get pieces here and there to build your defense. That's how I think you guys will go about it.
And, continuing with the NFL draft conversation, we've just been talking about it for 10, 15 minutes now, here on the Sports Angle on
Right.
PRConnectionsRadio.com, the voice of new media. I'm your host, Ian Rakelli. We're here for Rashad from It's Bro Time. The idea of having 4 quarterbacks go in the first round.
Right.
I've seen all these mock drafts, so you probably have seen them as well. Bryce Young, he's been pretty much the number 1 pick for a while
Yeah.
now. CJ Strode, I've seen people have him at 3 to the Lions. People have him at 4. It doesn't matter what team it's been. They have him around that mark.
Right.
But Will Levis is a huge question mark.
Yeah, Will
I
Levis.
have seen mock drafts have him as high as 5. I've seen mock drafts where he's been as low as like 16 or 17.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you see there? Because like I said, Strode and Young are about top 5, but where is Levis going to go?
Well, I think Stroud he's gonna end up being the 3rd quarterback chosen. I have Will Levis over Stroud. The intangibles are there. The height, weight, speed, the intangibles he has at Kentucky, to do what he did at Kentucky this year, in the last couple of years. He's kept that program afloat. I just like what he has from an arm talent standpoint. He's a big arm, big body quarterback that can really sling it. I have Will Levis above Stroud. I think Stroud's benefiting from the talent around him. I think Will Levis has nowhere near the talent Stroud has at Ohio State, and Will Levis is still putting up big numbers. So I like Levis over Stroud. Levis to me reminds me of a little Josh Allen. He got a little Josh Allen in him. That's who I compare him to. He's a big arm quarterback. So I think he reminds me of little Josh Allen. So I'm taking Levis over Stroud.
And like, what team would need a Will Levis? Like around that area that you said.
I mean, Detroit. Let's be real. Detroit does, which it might sound crazy to you though. I really think Detroit will stick with Goff. Like, I really do think they will stick with Goff this year. I think they are pleased as in to what Goff has done this year. And I truly do think they believe in Goff. I really do.
So do they draft a quarterback to be behind Goff, or do they draft
I think they draft a quarterback in the 2nd round. I don't think they draft a quarterback in the 1st round. I'm going to tell you what I've been seeing in certain mocks, but it makes sense. I think they're going, especially if Chicago moves down, I think they go get that edge player from Alabama, and you pair him up with Hutchinson. Now you got 2 bookends coming off the edge. It's a problem now. It's a major problem to rush the passer. So I think they build their defense in the 1st round, not their offense.
And they have also those 2 other rookies as well, Malcolm Rodriguez and Kirby Joseph.
Exactly. So in my opinion, I think a lot of people are going to be shocked, but I think Detroit, they believe in Goff, and I think they stick with Goff and draft an edge player and use, especially like I said, if you guys trade down and he's available, I think they take the kid from Bama or the kid from Clemson. So as well, I think they either take him to pair him up with Hutchinson, and away they go. So that's just my.
And I will say, when it comes to Seattle, because all these people keep talking about the Seattle Seahawks, and I go, well, if you re-sign Geno Smith, or if you even go for the big fish and get Lamar Jackson, sake of the argument,
right?
You don't need a draft quarterback in the 1st round. You can actually wait in the draft and get a quarterback.
Right. And I know everybody's hyped on Lamar, but To be real with you, I think Baltimore is gonna re-sign him. Like I just do.
Really?
Yeah, I just do.
I don't see it. I
I just because they control his rights. They control his right. They can franchise tag him if they want to and figure a deal out. They do not have to let him go if they don't want to. So again, I think they sign him. I think they find a way to get a deal done. They really cave in to his demands. They find a way to get a deal done with Lamar, and in a way they go as well. So I think the Seahawks, if they're smart, they re-sign Geno. If
I
they're
agree.
smart, if they're smart, they re-sign Geno and they draft another quarterback. Because Geno has to understand you're 10 years plus in this league. You're a bridge guy at this point in your career. You're not the guy. You know what I'm saying?
Ryan
Grant,
Fitzpatrick, pretty much.
exactly. Granted, you proved that this year that you can be a bridge quarterback because before this year, we were looking at Geno as a third option, possibly. Even though he was a second, even though he was a backup, he was on the
Oh yeah.
second. He was on the depth chart as a second string. We were still looking at him as a second to third round, second to third option. Now he's a legit starting quarterback, but he's more of a bridge guy now. So he's gonna get paid, and he deserves it. He's
Oh,
gonna get
absolutely.
he deserves it. He's gonna get paid, but he's that bridge guy now. So he can't be mad if they still draft a Will Levis, a CJ Stroud, or even a Bryce Young if they can move up. So regardless, I think he's at that point in his career where he'll be okay with that.
And you mentioned Strode, you mentioned Young, you
Right.
mentioned Levis, but the fourth quarterback that everyone keeps mentioning is going to get taken late in the first round is AR-15, Anthony Richardson from Florida.
Oh, Anthony
And
Florida.
yeah, and I keep seeing people say Tampa Bay will take him, the Saints will take him, the Commanders will take him. Like, where will he go? Like, let's just say, for sake of the argument, he actually goes in the late first round. Who's a team that's within that area that actually needs to take a quarterback?
I don't know. To me, he's not even a first round pick. I look at him as a late second, third rounder. He's not. If I'm any team in the NFL, I'm not taking him in the first round. I'm not taking that kid in the first round. He needs to develop a lot. I watched him a few times this year, especially when they play Utah.
Oh,
And
especially, yeah.
yeah, especially when they play Utah, because I was pulling for Utah. I wanted Utah to win that game, and Utah dropped the ball because the quarterback threw a pick late in the game, and oh god, don't get me
Yeah,
started.
Cameron Rising, man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
don't get me started. He threw a pick late in that game. It pissed me off. But I was rooting for Utah in that game, and but he's nice. He's good. He has great running ability. Richardson does, but he doesn't come off to me as like a franchise quarterback.
So
He's
then
a
what would be the reason then that all these mock drafts have him in the late first round? Like, what
I,
would be the reason then?
I mean, outside of let's be real, outside of the top three, I mean, what is it? You don't have a lot of talent at that position outside of the top three quarterbacks. So again, I mean, Caleb is not declaring because he's not eligible to declare.
Mhm.
So I mean, he has another year. He's coming back. So again, now if Caleb was in this draft, we'll be talking about Caleb possibly being the number one overall pick outside of with Bryce Young. I
I'm
think
I'm
there's
glad you said that because that was actually going to be my next question. My next
right.
question was, would he be the number one pick or would he be the number two pick if he
I
declared this year?
I mean it's apples to oranges at that point, you know what I'm saying? You can argue he possibly would be the number one overall pick. He won the Heisman. He's coming off a hell of a season. The kid is dynamic. He can make plays. I mean, he got a little look. I know people love to compare damn near every quarterback that scrambles to Mahomes. Let's be real, because he's the standard in the NFL, obviously. But
Best quarterback in the league. Yeah.
right, granted, he is. I give you that. So people gonna throw out that comparison. But he has that ability to him, and Bryce Young has it too. So it's almost apples to oranges at that point. You can possibly say Caleb would be the first round pick or would be a first overall pick or the second overall pick, but he's not in this class. So again, I would take Richardson in the late second to third round range as a developmental prospect and let him sit and develop.
So this is actually the end of hour one. We're only doing a 90-minute show here on the Sports Angle on prconnectionsradio.com, the voice of new media. I'm your host, Ian Rakelli. We're here for Rashad from It's Bro Time. And continuing the conversation, about the whole NFL draft, there was one quarterback that for a long time people thought would be a first-round pick, but he suffered that injury. And we all know that when a quarterback gets injured, his draft stock goes down.
Right.
I'm talking about Hendon Hooker from Tennessee.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, this was a guy that was a top 10 pick. Some people were having him in their mock drafts in September and October. But, people are saying he might be a third-round pick at best.
Yes.
Right now in this draft.
And you're right, Ian. And let's be real. I'm gonna be real with you now. If he doesn't get hurt, he wins the Heisman. If he doesn't get hurt, he wins the Heisman. He wins the Heisman. And I know possibly look, they lost against South Carolina when he was actually healthy. Okay. They lost that game. I give them that. So his argument for the Heisman would have been, it would have been dinged a little bit, but I think it comes down to him and Caleb if he doesn't get hurt, and he possibly wins it. I wouldn't have been surprised if he did win it. So I like the kid a lot. He showed a lot of promise this last year, taking Tennessee to almost they were the number one team in the country at one point in the year, going into that Georgia game until they played Georgia, and obviously they lost that game, and it just went. It was just a roller coaster ride since then. But he put Tennessee back on the map, and they haven't been back on the map since T. Martin won national title in 2001, something like that. So again, I like the kid a lot. I hope he gets a shot, which I think he will for sure. I wish him a speedy recovery because he has a lot of tools in his tool chest, and I think he's going to be a pretty good player on the next level.
So we've been talking about college football for about a half hour now here on the Sports Angle on prconnectionsradio.com, the voice of new media. So, college football, the bowl games and everything, obviously Clemson and Tennessee, that's already been done and over with, so we can't talk about that one. But there's 5 other very important bowl games we can get into.
Right.
So you have the Penn State versus Utah in the Rose Bowl out there in Pasadena. Man, if it wasn't so expensive, I would be there. But, man, the tickets and the pricing and the booking and the hotels and everything, it's just not worth it.
Right.
So Utah versus Penn State, and to give our fans out here a little bit of context, I know that King Czar, who I've had on this show before, had him on very recently, a couple episodes ago. He's a Penn State guy. Yep. I'm a University of Utah guy. I have a bet with him. I assume you have a bet with him as well.
Yes, I do.
So who do you have in this game, Utah or Penn State?
I got Utah. I think Utah, this is their second time in a row. They're representing the Pac-12 in the Rose Bowl. I think they finally get it done. They should have got it done last year if it wasn't for a historic performance by that wide receiver from Ohio State. I can't think of his name right now. You know what I'm talking
Jackson Smith?
Yeah, Jackson Smith. Oh, my God. It was like a video game. It was nuts.
He'll be a first-round pick this year.
Yes, he will. Yes, he will. So I think you guys get it done. You guys cap off this season with a Rose Bowl championship, bring it back to Salt Lake, and you get it done. I think I like Penn State. They had a pretty good year this year, but they couldn't beat the top dogs. They couldn't beat the Michigans. They couldn't beat Ohio State when it was all said and done. So again, they're gonna run into another physical team from the Pac-12. The Utah Utes, and I think the Utah Utes finally gets their just due and win the Rose Bowl and cap off a great season.
And you know what? As much as I'd love to see that, and you know what, I look at Penn State and I look at that whole situation. I'm gonna go with Utah just because they are my team, the team that I represent. but I wouldn't be surprised
Right.
if Penn State won.
Right.
That's my only caveat. I'm going to go for Utah. I'm going to support them like I did last year against Ohio State, but I won't be surprised if they end out losing to Penn State.
Right. Yeah, I can see that.
And of course, people in the chat are saying go Utes because everybody knows that Ian Rakelli from the Sports Angle on PR Connections Radio, University of Utah fan. But, that's the whole thing there.
Oh, yeah.
Tennessee beating Clemson, that situation was interesting. So, I think, I do agree with you, by the way, on that with Tennessee. If Hendon Hooker hadn't gotten injured, I think they would have been contending for a national championship.
Right.
But him getting injured obviously derailed.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, the other matchup, Alabama versus Kansas State. I like the Wildcats, man. I do. But let's be real. Alabama will probably win this by a few touchdowns.
And you're probably right. I mean, I said on Stay Tuned, I have Kansas State upsetting Alabama. I can see that happening. If Alabama goes into this game sleepwalking like they've done in Nick Saban's tenure, when they played lesser, quote unquote, lesser opponents, they thought they had it in the bag when they played Utah in 2009, and Utah took them to the woodshed, gave them
Sugar Bowl, yep.
and oh Bowl. My God, gave them an old-fashioned butt kicking. So, I like Alabama in this game. I'm taking Alabama. I'm gonna change my pick. I'm taking Alabama, but don't be shocked if Kansas State makes this a game. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I definitely could see that situation there. And, we talked about the Rose Bowl, the Cotton Bowl. We talked about early in the show. I have Tulane. Obviously, you're going to go with USC there. Mm-hmm. But a game that most people kind of undervalue is the Citrus Bowl. And that's LSU versus Purdue. And the breaking story that came out of that bowl game is the thing with Drew Brees and the fact that the whole betting scandal, he is affiliated with a betting site, PointsBet, but he is an interim assistant coach with Purdue. So there's a bunch of controversy there. And, similar to the Miles Austin situation with the gambling thing with the New York Jets, him being assistant coach, but yet, he's out there doing gambling and everything like that. Now, I've always said that I've never had a problem with, the whole betting situation because it's being sponsored now. It's being advertised. Athletes are being paid to be advertisers for sports books. Mm-hmm. And obviously me being in the sports book capital of the world, Las Vegas, Nevada, I see it every day. I stroll across the street. There's many casinos at, Albertsons. You go to your grocery store, there's 5 slot machines there. But, when it comes to the situation with Drew Brees, I mean, what's your opinion on it? The fact that there's all this controversy because he's an interim coach at Purdue, but yet has sponsorship with a sports betting company.
I mean, look, he's a Hall of Famer, future Hall of Famer. He had businesses and sponsorships before he got the job at Purdue. He still has to feed his family. He had to have, that's part of it. When you're an iconic quarterback like Drew Brees, you're going to have sponsors. You're going to have people, certain businesses. You're going to be tied to certain companies and so forth. It doesn't mean that you're participating in illegal activity, So, again, I know people would like to make that assumption because he's tied to a sports betting company, but again, it's just business. It's not something that he's actually doing and coaching at the same time. So, I don't think much of it.
Yeah, I just had to bring that up because of all the people here in Las Vegas, the sports betting capital of the world. I had to bring that up, to bring all that. Now, back to the really important games. I'm not going to talk about the Tax Slayer Bowl with Illinois versus Mississippi State. That's not a major bowl game. Maybe mid-major, but not a major.
Right.
Now, Ohio State, Georgia, they're competing for a national championship. And I have watched Stay Tuned. I've seen Ignorant Thinkers podcast with Dennis Holmes. Amazing show. And there are people trying to make the argument that Ohio State is going to win this against Georgia because Georgia, Ohio State's got a better opportunity, this and this. Now, I'm going with Georgia because I picked them to win back-to-back national championships all the way back in September. They were my pick, so I'm going to stick with it. But who do you have, Rashad? Are you
I
going to
got
go with Ohio State or are you going to go with Georgia?
I got Georgia too. I got them winning the national championship again as well. That's my pick. I got Georgia, Michigan in the national championship game. Ohio State shouldn't even be here. Let's be real. I mean, if it wasn't for USC losing the way they did in the Pac-12 championship, Ohio State wouldn't even be mentioned right now. So they would have actually punched their ticket to the Rose Bowl, and Penn State would have been playing in the Tax Slayer Bowl probably. So let's be real. So I mean, at the end of the day, I'm taking Georgia to win this game. I think they beat Ohio State by 2 touchdowns, and I have Ohio State, Michigan in the national championship with Ohio State. Not Ohio State. I have Georgia, Michigan in the national championship with Georgia winning their second national title.
Now, Georgia versus Michigan, that is going to be my pick there as well. But
Right.
there's this conspiracy theory. And by conspiracy theory, I mean there's only like 3 people who are saying this, but, I have to bring it up.
Mm-hmm.
There is this idea that because Michigan and Ohio State, they're on the opposite side of the bracket. There's
Right.
this idea here in Las Vegas that the sports books are going to want to see Ohio State versus Michigan in the national championship. They're going to want to see one of the biggest rivalries in college football compete for a national championship. Do you think there's any truth to that? That people, that are betting out there in the sports betting world, they want to see that matchup happen. They want to see that matchup take place.
Possibly because it's fun for a certain narrative, but I'm not buying it. And buying it at all. So I look,
Yeah.
I'm taking Georgia to win it. I'm taking Georgia to win it, and Michigan will represent the Big Ten in the national championship, but I'm taking Georgia.
So staying on Michigan for a second, there was the Denver Broncos Jim Harbaugh article that came out 2 days ago. That with Nathaniel Hackett being fired, Jim Harbaugh, he hasn't been in the NFL for 8 years now, been in Michigan ever since. There's been talk, Sean Payton, he might be going to Arizona. We've heard that conversation. What about Jim Harbaugh, the possibility of him coming back to the NFL and coaching the Denver Broncos?
I don't think it happens. I don't think he takes that job. That's a bad job right now. Russell Wilson, granted, look, Russell Wilson is a first ballot Hall of Famer, I believe, before the season. He's not making his case strong after this year. And I know we all have up and down years, okay? I get it. But he doesn't look good at all. He looks worse than a rookie. He looks worse than Kenny Pickett. Like, let's be real. Kenny Pickett looks better than Russ right now. And like, let's be real. Justin Fields look better than Russ right now.
Okay. All right.
Like, I'm gonna be real. Like, there's some talented quarterbacks in this league right now, and Russ is supposed to be a first ballot Hall of Famer, and he looks worse.
Second ballot. I said second ballot.
To me, if he continues to keep pace on what he was doing in Seattle, if he did that this year, to me, he's first ballot. That's just truthfully how I feel about Russ. I was a big supporter of Russell Wilson. But after this year, I'm kind of stepping back like, man, will the real Russ please stand up? I mean, let's be real, man. So again, I'm gonna save my criticism for him until next year. But right now, he is not making a strong case of him being a first ballot Hall of Famer right now. And I look at that divorce they had in Seattle, and I'm saying, was it Seattle or was it you?
It's funny you say that. I have family up in Seattle. I love my family up there. I keep mentioning you guys because I love you. And I have like people in Seattle who have told me that Russell Wilson was the problem. That Russell Wilson, he wanted out years ago.
Right.
He kept on complaining and moaning and groaning. That Russell Wilson, he was getting upset the fact that they didn't trade him sooner.
Right.
So, based off of what I was told about people that lived in Seattle, Russell Wilson was the problem. It's pretty much he quit on the last 2 years in Seattle. That mentally he was done already.
See? And I look at that and see, and I compare that to Aaron Rodgers. And that's the same issue I'm having with him these last couple years, especially come playoff time. Because I believe he quits come playoff time. And he's all about his individual accolades. And come playoff time, he's like, oh, well, we lost. Oh, well. And like I always compare it to the Brett Favre and Rodgers comparison. When Brett Favre played, you never questioned, did he leave it all out on the field? You knew he did. With Rodgers, you question that every single year. You
Every
question
year.
every year. Did he leave it all out on the field? Is he really tricking this game off on purpose? You question it all. You question it every single year with him, and that's been my biggest issue with Rodgers, and that's why I've wanted him gone. But going back to the Russell Wilson issue, that doesn't surprise me, man. That does not surprise me. That's why I'm holding off my criticism of Russ, and I'm gonna give him one more year. Let me see what you are. One more year. Let me see what you do next year with a new staff. Because you got Nathaniel Hackett fired. Let's be real. Nathaniel Hackett's not a head coach anyway.
Well, he shouldn't have been hired in the first place. Exactly. He was only hired because of Aaron Rodgers.
Right. That's a fact, right? So he's not a head coach anyway. Granted. He's an offensive coordinator and he's probably okay at that. So again, there's coaches in this league that's not meant to be head coaches. You're meant to be a coordinator because you're a great coordinator. I think Gus Bradley's one of them. I think the defensive coordinator from the Cowboys is one of them.
Dan Quinn.
Dan Quinn, he's one of them. He's a guy. These are guys that are great coordinators. You're not meant to be head coaches, bro.
Vic Fangio, being a Bears fan.
Exactly. Great coordinator. You're not meant to be a head coach. So, again, I'm going to hold my judgment out on Russ for one more year. But if this is a pattern next year, yeah, we're going to have conversations. Russ ain't going to be in he won't be in the hall. He won't be in the hall.
So speaking of, quarterbacks and teams and quitting and everything, we're going to flip the script on that and talk about a team that quit on a quarterback. Because people here in Las Vegas, the Raiders organization, we know about the Derek Carr situation. This is a guy that for 9 seasons literally, sweat blood and tears and everything went into the Raiders organization. Right. And it's been reported, like it said, that they're benching Derek Carr for the last 2 weeks of the season. Look, we all know why they're benching Derek Carr. It's about the money. All right. It's about the money. It's about the contract. It's about incentives. But the way that they have gone about it, though, being here in Las Vegas, I can say firsthand, it's really felt like a slap in the face to Derek Carr. The fact that, he spent 9 seasons literally devoting himself to Las Vegas. And they pretty much just said, all right, you're done. We're just going to get rid of you. We're moving on.
I agree with you, Ian, but here's where I push back. Derek Carr has had, especially this year, he's had everything set up for him, right, to succeed. You get the best receiver in the game. You make the trade to Green Bay. You get the best receiver in the game. You could have lost your tight end in Green Bay because that was the original trade.
Yeah, I could have. Yes.
Yeah, trade was for Adams, for Waller, and a first-round pick, but they couldn't do it, right? So you can't tag a player and trade a player for another player. You can't do that. So
that's true. Yeah.
So the league vetoed that. So that would have been nuts, right? But so instead they gave us a first and a second round pick for Adams. So you trade, so you get the best receiver in the game, right? It's your buddy, your best friend. You guys been playing together since Fresno State. You guys reconnected in Las Vegas, right? He wants to be closer to his grandmother, his family. They want to see him play because they couldn't see him play in Green Bay. So shout out to Adams, man. Class act. One of the greatest receivers, probably arguably the greatest receiver in Green Bay history outside of Sterling Sharp and Don Hudson. The dude is no joke, So you get him. Then you keep Waller because you made this big issue with Waller because they were still thinking about trading Waller to Green Bay again.
They did, yes.
Right. They were still thinking about trading Waller to Green Bay even when that trade went through. But that didn't happen, right? You made a big fuss of that about that. So they end up keeping Waller and they signed him to a new deal, right? Then you get Josh McDaniels come in. Offensive minded head coach, very complicated system from New England.
Yeah.
But he had Brady, he had the GOAT. So okay. We'll see. It's the second time around, second stint as a head coach. Let's see what you'll do. You get Chandler Jones to pair up with Max Crosby, who's one of the best pass rushers in the league. That tandem, you got a decent defense. You building it, before the season. Your offensive line still kind of up and down, but you got a stable running backs. You got Jacobs, that bell cow, and what he can do.
Right, but then they declined his fifth-year option, which I thought was a terrible idea.
Right.
The fact that they declined his fifth-year option.
Right. But he balled, right? You know what I'm saying? So he's going to get paid on the open market anyway. If he hits the open market, somebody's going to grab him quick. So at the end of the day, you had things set up for you. And Carr, I get it. You had how many head coaches in 9 years?
6 coaches.
Oh, my God, right? That's that's more than half. You know what I'm saying? Your tenure, okay? So I get it. You've had 6 head coaches in 9 years. You've been the level of function in a dysfunctional organization, okay? You've been the only bright spot, right? I've defended Carr countless and countless of times. He's been the only bright spot in that organization. Yeah. Again, but this year, really I kind of finally pulled back the reins on supporting Carr, because you cannot have 14 interceptions. And granted, Dak Prescott has 14 too. But you cannot have 14 interceptions in some of the most crucial moments in situational football this year. It just can't happen. It can't happen. They've lost games because Carr did not play well. You know what I'm saying? If he plays well in some of these games in situational football, they win at least 4 to 5 more games.
I'll take the Steelers game, for example.
Prime example. You got Renfro wide, bucket naked open. He's wide open. He's so open he naked. Okay? And
wide open.
And you overthrow him. Come on. And that was just one play in that game where you're looking at Carr like, what are you doing? And it's been plays like that with all the talent around him at that position, at the receiver position and tight end position, that you scratch your head in and you say, all right, Carr, I know you've been the level of function in the dysfunction organization, but it's time to put up or shut up now. And you got to get it done, and he hasn't gotten it done.
So the only thing I can think of, and I agree with you on that when it comes to Derek Carr and the way he's been performing, but the way that they're benching him, in terms of the incentives and contracts and everything, I was going through my notes, and the only thing I can compare to is when the Buffalo Bills got rid of Tyrod Taylor.
Right.
The Buffalo Bills did not want to trigger an incentive in Tyrod Taylor's contract, so they intentionally sat him so that way he wouldn't make that money.
Right.
And the next year, if I remember correctly, they draft Josh Allen. We all know the story from there.
Right. Right. And you're probably right. And again, that echoes the level of dysfunction in the Raiders organization. For them to even do that to Derek Carr, a guy that's been a true Raider, a guy that's been a model citizen and that's literally put the Raiders on his back and just been supportive with that organization time and time again, in so many years of dysfunction, like with the Gruden situation, Rich Bisaccia getting fired, all these head coaches getting fired, and all this turmoil in this organization. Like I said, he's been the level of function.
He's broken bones for you guys.
He's
literally for the Raiders. He's broken his back. Like, he's literally done all that.
Right. and you do him like this towards the end of his towards basically you gave him the new deal this past off season.
And they gave him that option for a reason.
Right.
I noticed that was very clever. The way they
Like
had
that,
an option 1 year in.
like that's crazy. So again, man, shout out to Derek Carr. I'ma still support Derek Carr, but my criticism of Derek Carr is warranted because he has not played well at all this year. And I hope he can bounce back no matter where he goes, because I think he's done in Vegas. I think he's done.
So we have 5 minutes left in the show. So this is going to be a 2-part question.
All right.
So the first part is, if there's a team that Derek Carr is going to go to next year, if you had to put on your crystal ball and predict where Derek Carr is going to go, what team would it be? That's part one. And then part two is the Raiders. They're going to need a new quarterback. Obviously, they're moving on from him. Do you expect them to go into the draft and get one of those 4 quarterbacks I mentioned? Or are they going to go in free agency and try to bring in a Lamar Jackson or bring in a Geno Smith or bring in somebody to replace Derek Carr in free agency?
Number one, question one, I think the best landing spot for him is the Jets. I think that's the best landing spot for him is the Jets. I think the wild card landing spot for him is, I'm gonna echo this, it's probably Indy. That's the wild card.
Okay.
The now that finished your question for question number one. Number two, for question number two, I believe that I think the Raiders will possibly try to trade. They will call the Packers. I'm gonna be real. They will call up the Packers.
Their favorite trade partner.
Right, exactly. Right. It's all about relationships, right, Ian? A lot of people don't understand that. It's all about relationships in this league and in life, right? You're gonna call on you're gonna call on a guy that you trust and that you know that's knowledgeable and that you feel like, okay, you're gonna get a good return on your investment because you trust this person, right? So, and it's like that in the NFL, right? So, okay, Raiders gonna pick up that phone and we're gonna call about Aaron. We're gonna say, hey man, we seen you, we saw love. It looks like he's ready. What are you guys gonna do with Aaron? What is Aaron thinking about doing? Is he thinking about playing another year, or is he thinking about retiring? Because if he's thinking about playing another year, hey man, we got his boy out here in Vegas. We'll give you a first and possibly a second, again for Aaron Rodgers. So I mean, that's a conversation that will be had. Let's be real. Another conversation that's going to be had is the Tom Brady conversation, because I think he's out of Tampa Bay after this year, Ian. I think.
I agree. I agree on Tampa Bay.
Yeah, I think he's gone. So that's a conversation that you have to have, and I think that's more likely than any other quarterbacks we're naming right now. I think that's more likely. That's a more likely possibility than anything. Tampa Bay going to Vegas now, because they denied him the first time he tried to go over there. They kept Carr because they kept Carr.
Oh, yeah, they did. Yeah.
He was supposed to go to Vegas.
Yeah, he's we all found out that Derek Carr was the guy that Brady was talking about.
Exactly. So you get Carr out of there, you get him to the Jets. You got a boatload of picks because the Jets got a ton of picks. You get
absolutely. So now the the way that I would answer it is, I think Derek Carr is going to be a New York Giant. Not a Jet, but I think he'll be a Giant.
Really? You think they're gonna get rid of Daniel Jones?
I think that they will get rid of Daniel Jones. Derek Carr will be a Giant. Team up with Brian Dabo. I think that's what the situation will be.
Okay.
And I think the Las Vegas Raiders will get Lamar Jackson. I've been saying this for the last 2 months. I think Lamar Jackson will be wearing a silver and black jersey next year.
I mean, I can't. Like I said, I just can't see it because the Ravens they hold his rights. They hold the keys to the car. So I can't see it. I could see Tom though. I could see Tom going there.
And we have and here's the last question here on the show, because it does relate to the Raiders. And I'm going to put out my theory on this. So because of the Derek Carr situation, we all saw the tweet. We all saw the post from Devontae Adams, him talking about Derek Carr's situation. And there are people who believe that Devontae Adams will want to be traded this offseason, that Devontae Adams will want to leave the Raiders, in this upcoming offseason. So my theory is that if he does leave the Raiders, if I'm Ryan Poles, if I'm the Chicago Bears, I'm picking up the phone.
Right.
And I'm offering a future first and a second round pick. You give me Devontae Adams.
Right.
You team up with Justin Fields. You get him a legit number one.
Right. And I could see that. I could see that happening. You guys be dumb not to pick up the phone. Let's be real. It's going to be, everybody's going to pick up the phone for the best receiver in the league. Like, everybody's going to do that, So, look, you guys are going to have a lot to offer, and I totally get that too. But, again, relationships, the player got to agree to the trade too. You know what I'm saying? So, I don't know, man.
Right. When it comes to that, absolutely.
I just don't know, Ian, if Adams would want to go to Chicago or if he would want to go to the Jets with Carr. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. It could that could get dicey because if he wants out, damn, man, I just feel bad for Devontae at that point.
Right, because it really showed the dysfunction. I know Raiders fans, you hate me right now.
Right.
It's fine. But it really showed the dysfunction of the Raiders that you had one of the best receivers for 1 year, and he already wants to get traded.
Right. Like, God, that was...
It'd be Randy Moss 2.0.
Like, seriously. See, and it wouldn't be a surprise because it's happened already. So, right. It wouldn't be a surprise at all. So it's just... Man, that is just, man, I just feel bad for Devontae, Ian, because at that point, it's like, bro, you should have just stayed in Green Bay at that point. Seriously, like, why did you, like, they offered you the same contract. And I know you wanted to stay closer to home. You wanted to get your family to come see you, your grandmother. I get it. By all means, man, it's all about family. Family comes first. But, man, hindsight 2020, bird's eye view. Yeah, you should have stayed in Green Bay, dog.
All right, man. So, hey, we got 60 seconds left in the show. So, Rashad, I appreciate you coming on the show.
Oh, man.
First time being on the Sports Angle.
Yeah.
And just tell everybody real quick where they can find you.
Oh, man, it's Bro Time. You can find me on Facebook, on It's Bro Time, Rashad Stribling. Yeah, I'm on all platforms as well. And I appreciate the support. Ian, you got a great product, man. Keep doing what you're doing. I'm proud of you. And I appreciate the love, man.
Hey, absolutely, man. Hey, you're welcome back anytime. So, This is the Sports Angle on PRConnectionsRadio.com, the voice of new media. I'm your host, Ian Kelly. That was Rashad from It's Bro Time. And until next time, we have our marathon show on Sunday. I will be on that show. All the people on PR Connection Radio will be on it. So until next time, have a good one. Continue watching sports and stay safe.